that we can still get some points.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Yes.
Okay.
And where else? Facebook is for young, informal people exchanging cats playing piano. You can do it in Facebook, and where else could you do it to help develop yourself? Yeah, LinkedIn is the professional area, but you need to make sure that you're sharing something that's professional, yes. Or the last thing that I was talking about, over here. Yes, this this Facebook group would be better than just your own Facebook, connecting with other people that can help develop this. And when you're just posting it, don't just post it and try hard to get ideas for changing it to make it better. If you can get scores from somebody, like a grade from somebody, again, the grade's not that important. Try to get a grade, and then if they give you 2 marks off or 3 marks off, ask them why. What could you do to make it better? Somebody gives you just a 10 out of 10, it's not really that helpful. You want to know how you can make something better. I should, oops, what's going on? Oh, I need to log in first. Did I answer your question? Okay. Yeah. Also sharing it in class would be good. Why is this not letting me in? It's fun. I have a PhD in this stuff and I still can't get in. Bummer, that's not connecting well, so I'm just going to skip over it. So we've gone through talking a little bit about resumes. Hopefully you guys have started to share your resumes with some classmates, share resumes in Facebook. Some of you have given me your resume. I've given some comments about it. We also talked about what are some possible questions that they may ask, or some of the questions they should be asking during interviews. The idea of some of them being trick questions, talking about what is your greatest weakness and how did you overcome it, or what was an obstacle, how did you overcome it. You shouldn't be talking about really bad things. You should be talking about things that are always good and mutually beneficial to the other person. Same thing for your research project. When you're interacting with somebody, you shouldn't be just talking about nice things that you think are nice. You should be talking about things that are not just nice to this other person, but add value to this other person. If the other person gets value from you, they're going to want to interact more. So by saying you have these world's most valuable and most respected and reliable research papers that you can present to them or present a summary to them, such as the low-level Harvard Business Review, that may attract some attention. For example, I know one of the top executives of Samsung does have a Harvard connection. They should be interested in Harvard, number one, but because they are connected personally to that school, they're very interested in that. So whatever your research is, just saying you have that will attract some attention to this guy. He would open up to it. Again, other than that, there's we have talked about what to put into resumes for helping you, what to put in the cover letters. The resume is just the facts. The cover letter is talking about how these facts will help that company grow, how you can specifically give value, add value to the company. You're not just saying, hi, you know, I dreamed about the company for a long time. That doesn't add value. You want to talk about something that is helping them do the job they're looking to hire for. Here is a presentation that talks about quite a bit of information. I'm going to go through it quickly. That idea of, some people say just do what you love. I think that is a mistake. You're not supposed to just do what you love. You should be doing what you love, plus what the world actually wants. So align your passions together with your skills and the market needs. If you keep doing those things, you should be successful. And if you go through it long enough, if you don't know what you're interested in, this is the mind map. This will help show you what type of careers might match. It's not clear right now, but it's the simple idea. We've seen it several times, so it's quick review. You guys remember the mind map? Has anybody done the mind map yet? Are you aware of how it works? Can somebody explain how this works, what you're supposed to do? If you start with a blank piece of paper, how do you do the mind map? Yeah.
Basically work your way up, so you start with the main problem, next subject.
That's not this type of mind map. This type of mind map is trying to identify you. What are your personality? What are your characteristics? What is your career that should match you? So what this is saying is just start by one piece of paper and just list down all of your characteristics. Like when I went through it, when I was about 14 years old, more people joining. I was saying that I like the human body, I like brains, I like sophistication, I like challenges, mysteries, being practical, intelligence, making results, learning. All of these type of things describe what I really liked when I was like 14 years old. And it's still the same thing now. And so I went through it and I actually flipped the paper over and asked strangers, what do they think these things match? And most people thought a medical doctor, especially because I was surrounded by medical doctors. My father was a medical doctor at the time. They thought, yeah, I'm interested in the same thing as my father. I actually got into chemotherapy. It was only until after I saw so many people sick, dead, and dying that I find out I don't like depressed people and I like interacting with other live people around the world more. I thought understanding people was more challenging than being a medical doctor, which was similar to an auto mechanic. If something is broken, my father was a surgeon. He would just cut something out and put something in. I thought that understanding the living mind was better. So writing down your characteristics, and then that would match with some sort of career. Further development, add some things that you don't like so you can rule it out. This is very, very basic. You can click on these types of things. At the bottom of these presentations, here's the 16personalities.com, here's the humanmetrics.com. I've shown you a few times, but also in here, this is what I use for an MBA class specifically designed to develop people, develop the MBAs to be higher level performers in HRM. And so here is an assignment specifically to help develop you. we're talking this week about performance management. So, oops, why can you guys not see this? Why is it so, maybe try this. Sorry, the internet seems to be going very slow. Here it is. So this is the performance management developing professional results for strategic managers. And so this is 141 pages. It goes through, it teaches many different aspects of how you can identify yourself, how you can identify most companies start doing those details by going through a SWOT analysis. I assume you all know what a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But this talks a little bit more saying, don't make the simple mistake of just finding one strength, one weakness. Start understanding many of your strengths and many of the strengths of that target person that you want to be around and how you can link these together. And if you have many weaknesses, how can you deal with them? Some people, especially in Korea, they try to keep fixing your weaknesses. Other people are saying it's better to focus on growing your top strength and then get some other partner, get some other staff that excels in the area that you're weak at. So whatever your weakness is, start thinking of a strategy to deal with it. Either you fix it, which some people think is wasting your time, you should just develop your expertise, or you outsource for that. There's many different details in here. How you can get extra coaching, how you can get extra mentoring, how you can get extra leadership skills. Here is a story, and then you can go through talking about how to develop it. I'll just go through it really fast. There's hundreds of pages. How you can develop yourself with time management. Anybody know how to manage time? That we talked about in the class requirements PPT a little bit. Maybe you're a student. Maybe you think you're busy right now, but everybody in the world usually has many different things impacting you every day. If you allow those things to impact you, it will waste a lot of your time. Like people might want to come up and say hello, or just to practice their English, or you might get a lot of text messages. Going to start your phone to check it, if you do it every time you get a text message, it actually wastes an incredible amount of time. Very successful people, they usually only check their text messages or emails maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and only during those times. So time management. There's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People developed by Stephen Covey. That book is great, talking about how to manage the basics of your life and the basics of time. But he wrote a second book called First Things First. And in that book, he was talking about how you need to identify what is urgent and what is important. And in that square of 4 things, so what is it over here? Here is urgent, and this is what important. And this would be not important, and this is not urgent. Some people will say you're supposed to spend your time on this whatever's urgent and important, but that is wrong. You guys hear me? Is that clear? Do you know where you're supposed to be spending your time? Yes? Yes. What is important and not urgent? Your life goals, you've got your whole life to plan for them. You're supposed to be focused on here. And to start each day, usually planning at least 5 minutes to 15 minutes each day on what you're going to do to get to that higher level, which is Using newer computers taking a little longer for me. That's stairway to this. So plan to get here each day. What do you need to get to rise to your goals? Most people focus on just here. How can you develop here to get to that higher level? Or how can you get from here to up here? That whole idea, research shows anything you plan from down here to get up there is significantly harder than the opposite. Plan that you already have here and work your way backwards. So whatever you want in 20 years, you need to have half of that, or at least the foundation for half of that in 10 years. And then you need half of that in 5 years, half of that in the 2 years, half of that in 1 year, half of that in 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, 2 weeks, 1 week, down to today. What do you need to do to get up here? So start thinking about those things. And in your class activities, who are some alumni that can help get you connected? What are some activities or people that can help you get connected to that higher level? And this idea of the 5 minutes, that's related to this Q4. So you understand the MBTI, more of the MBTI is here. This is what this folder is showing. This idea of 140 pages, you can go through it and it will also tell you the idea of what is your learning style, your learning preferences. Some people say that there's activists versus reflectors versus theorists versus pragmatists. If you are one style, your style of learning can be and is probably different than several other people. You need to understand that in order to connect the best. There's also the, when you're doing research, talking about research, most people don't care, but hopefully you guys care. This idea of, it was developed initially from the VARC. There's visual, there's audio, there's the reading or the kinetic style of learning. And then it was developed by Peter Honey and Alan Mumford. So they developed the Kolb's learning cycle. Learn about that research to find out how you learn, especially in HR. You're supposed to make all employees in the company learn and develop so the whole company gets better. So understand people learn differently. That's what it's talking about. This basics talking about whatever you do, 10,000 hours of it will help you do it better. Here it is. So this is, did I get it right? Oops, mine is flipped. So urgent is on one side, important. So there's urgent all over here, not urgent over here, important up here, not important down here. Most people waste their time just managing crisis or accidents. If you get hit by a bus or something like that, if a friend is sick, you go to the hospital. That is something that you need to do, but it's wasting your time. In order for you to be very successful, you should be focusing on your dreams, preparing, planning, value clarification, exercise, relationships, even sex, drinking, sleeping. All of those things, you should be planning for them, because if you are only doing that one thing alone, life is more complicated. You'll probably get sick or you will have problems. You need to also develop your social abilities, your networking also. Almost anything down here or everything down here, you should learn to say no. A lot of people are too polite to say no. Anybody aware of the basic HRM? Let's say you are the HR director and I am just a difficult worker in the company. I come up to you, I have a problem, I want to talk to you about it. Or I want to say, this computer, it's got a lot of problems, we need to fix it. If we fix it, we have this other one, it would be better. How can you tell me, no, get away from me, I'm busy? You will have that throughout your life. We're talking about time, that's the main thing. You're going to get busy. The busier you are, usually the more successful you will become. But if you're busy with crap stuff, with garbage stuff, you won't. So people will come up and bother you. How do you say no without getting me angry at you? Yeah.
How we utilize and say that at a time that advise them to someone who might help, for example, like IT on the computer, so that they don't feel alone.
That's better than just saying go away, you're a pain in the ass, yes. But there's also a better way. They think a lot of the research shows if you push somebody off, they will think you don't care. Especially in Korea, if you're the manager, most managers in Korea, the lower level is taught that the manager knows everything. They have answers to everything. Usually you just don't ask those advanced questions before you get to the top. So if you come and he says go somewhere else, it's very popular in Scandinavia where everybody's equal and he has this specialization, I have this specialization. So go talk to the specialist. If you do that in Scandinavia, it's great. They embrace it, they respect it, they know it. But in East Asia, you are basically saying, I don't care, go talk to somebody else. That's maybe, I'm not always, but that's maybe what they might be thinking. So what else could you do? Sure, I will help you. As soon as you help me finish this first. I only have 3 more things. You help me with this, and then I'll help you with this. You don't say, you know, I've got 20 things to do first. You start talking about, here are these things. If you can help me finish this, as soon as these are finished, I can work on your project. It's a polite way to say, no, go away. Or at the same time, you are developing a relationship. So that's one way to sort of develop. We're getting a little bit off topic. We were talking about going through, this is the same thing in more detail. A little lost on this new computer. It's taking me a little bit more time to go through it. You guys are aware of the 3rd week information has links to this. This is also the 6th week talking about your career development. We've gone through that. Some people were presenting. You might not have recalled all of those details for the 6th week. This week, we're supposed to be talking about the idea of performance management. The idea of performance management systems, I wanted to point out, rather than just the company aspect, I'd like you guys to try to focus on, where is it here? One of the most important, the activities in the middle. Where is it here? There's supposed to be activities in the middle. Sharing your details that you have and ask for other people on how to evaluate your performance. What are some ways that you guys can go through to evaluate another person's performance? And at the same time, most important, how can you evaluate your own performance? You can start with being a student. How can you evaluate your performance? But ultimately, you should be thinking of, with your performance management systems, how can you, as a worker, evaluate some workers' performance in a company? So what are some ideas, since we're a small group together? Anybody, including Hua and all of the other people online? How many people do we have online now? Thomas, would you like to give a suggestion, or Hua, anybody online or anybody in class wants to give a suggestion for how can you start developing performance evaluation methods or systems? If you're not thinking about your performance and how to continuously get better, you're probably not getting better.
I mean, maybe comparing to each other,
Thanks, Mr.
to
Ghost.
someone better.
Did you say that again? Compare yourself to other people? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yes.
Go ahead, compare yourself to me or anybody. Let's see what you mean. Anybody?
I mean, if I see someone with successful in something, maybe I learn from him and I get better.
Absolutely. Make sure you're not just comparing yourself to anybody, especially in a
Yeah.
country, where there's like 57 million people in a very small, you could be surrounded by many people that might be good at something you really don't care about, but they're bad at what you do care about. So that
Yeah.
you have
Yes.
to be thinking about who you are around. A lot of research shows that if you're in the right place at the right time, you get a lot more successful. That's partly true. Research shows that's true. You need to surround yourself with the best people possible. I may not be the best teacher. I may not be the best business person. I have a lot of business experience. I have a lot of teaching experience, but there's 8 billion people in the world. You might be able to study more from some of them. You might be able to research more with some of them. That's why you should be checking some of these things online. What is a job that some of you may want? Let's list one and start talking about who we could surround ourselves with. Nobody wants to list the job you want? I'm listing my job. I'm living my job, my sort of dream. I love business. I love the challenge of developing things. I started in medicine because I thought the challenge of the human body was the best. But I think the idea, the challenge of managing international people with negotiations and contracts and stuff was more difficult, more advanced, better, more interesting than the human body in medicine. The idea of different cultures, even more challenging, more interesting to me. I love that challenge. So how do I do it? I am an international management professor, but the idea of success, teaching is not just success for me. A lot of people think success is money. And so my university, the money is not really important at all. The idea of money for me comes from other investments. Do you need to have $1 million? Absolutely not. Do you need to have some rich dad? It helps for sure. But my dad didn't give me a dime, didn't give me anything. There are ways to grow without money, but that could be a different point. What is a job that you want to start talking about how you can surround yourself, and what are some performance management ways to start developing a person? I'll give you a few more seconds, otherwise I'm going to start teaching more of the PPT, which should not be as good. Go ahead.
I want to get into electrical engineering and sustainable automotive industry. And for that, what I do is like reading the paper of the German School of Engineering. Like there's a very known stuff where they publish a newspaper every week, and there are like some articles published by renowned authors about those topics, and I read them. So that's how I interact with them. Like it's not really an interaction because they don't know me, but I try to that topic.
Okay, so the idea of you wanting to be an automotive engineer, you start by getting the automotive engineering book, the magazine that you think is the best. That makes sense. The more you read about it, the more you just reading it is good for your personal development, but does it really help you? What's the difference with reading a textbook? How do you know that book is better than some other book? For example, have you ranked it? Is it in Scopus? Is it ranked in Scopus?
No, it's not. It's like a newspaper.
Oops. How reliable is the newspaper, right? You get a lot of stories about your field. Good. What is better than the newspaper? every one of you should know. Otherwise, you're gonna fail the class. I'm gonna kick you. It's good that you're reading. Okay, research papers may be better, but he says they are research papers in a newspaper. It's a newspaper about just automotive engineering stories. Okay, so that it's a great start, but how can we get better? Maybe, actually, I'm going to give you a true story. When I was in my MBA, about your age, I remember the teacher putting us into groups, and one group guy that came into my group, he was right at the very beginning, put his feet up on the table, and he said, guys, I need to, say something right away. I am not going to be able to help with this research in the group at all. Nice to meet you. My name is blah, blah, blah. But I'm very bad at class homework. But what I can do is every time we meet, I can give you all the food and the drink and the alcohol you want. And so we can meet a lot. The more we meet, the more you're going to have a good time. And we can meet, I can like set you up in the Hyatt Hotel or some other fancy place and stuff like that. He admitted that he's not going to work. That guy was there's one other guy that developed a great business plan, became a millionaire instantly. But this lazy guy that was promoting himself as lazy, he did become very, very successful because he was networking all the time. My story that I'm talking to you about is he was leading many big companies. And when he was leading these companies used to make these rankings. They would show the world, look at this ranking. We're ranked number 2, we're ranked number 1 in this field, or we're ranked number 2 or number 1 in this field. Check the details. He made that survey. He said, for example, 4 out of 5 survey respondents were saying we were the best. Well, he just surveyed you, and you were working for me. You have to say right? You're allowed to say no. And so it's not real rankings. You think it's ranking, and he called your committee of surveying, this official automotive engineering, the German Automotive Engineering Association, whatever. It sounds nice, but unless you really check the details, you can be misled. And this group mate, he definitely used that. He became very successful, but check those details. So you said Scopus. Why should we care about Scopus?
I got it close after this.
Oh, sure. If we're already finished, yes, time is up. The idea of Scopus is it's reviewed by other international experts. So be aware of that stuff. Anyway, class is finished. We can stop recording, but I can stay if you guys want to talk more about how to get into LinkedIn or how to develop your projects or how to develop yourselves. Again, this week